Hi, this is Chris Petri. Welcome everyone. We're going to do some still life today, some flowers in a vase, some fruit. We're going to have some vegetables, pepper and a tomato. We're going to work on contour drawing first and kind of talk about how we can successfully contour draw before we start. Um, and then we'll get into the painting portion. This is probably going to be a 3 or 4 part series, so we'll have lots of good time. The first thing I wanted to do was definitely mention that a couple of my subscribers had sent in some of their exercises that they had done from our video series on YouTube here on my channel. Adele sent me some really beautiful figures that she painted, drew and painted. So these are the two figures. That was a video we did a while back, probably about a half a year ago or so. We did fun and loose watercolor figures, and these were the two figures. So this is Adele's drawing of the two figures. Came out wonderful, absolutely fantastic, with dynamics and good color, excellent color. Um, just really a beautiful job overall. And these were the original. This was the. I found something. I think this might have been my. This was my rendition. So I think I started out with this. This isn't the exact one I did in the video, but I think this was maybe the first one I did to warm up before I started the YouTube video that I did for the fun and loose watercolors for figures. So this is my rendition here, and you can see that Adele captured it beautifully. Um, uh, really nice. Again, capturing the beautiful dynamics of the figures, casually talking, standing in standing positions with the nice body language, and just overall beautiful um, rendering of the figures. They look incredibly well done, with just the overall look and feel. These would look absolutely incredible in a painting, a finished painting perhaps. This could be a finished painting in itself right here, just put into a frame. Really nice, Adele, great work. Um, then we had Corolla sent us a really nice rendering of coffee, a nice coffee cup on a table, coffee cups on a table. So these came out wonderful. These look fantastic. You can see the just the real loose and shapely renderings of those coffee cups. And she did 3, and they all look really nice, and they're painted really beautifully with the watercolor. You can see the shadow and light in the cups, and then of course the shadow underneath. And so these were beautifully rendered. Great job, Corolla. Corolla's from Argentina. And here's her. This is the cup she used. So this must be her table in her place, and that was the cup she used to draw from, to contour draw. And I'm still getting over a cold. I apologize for coughing here on the video. And this was the video she was working from. So we did a while back. We did some fun contour drawing with some cups and coffee cups, and I think we did a spritzer bottle and a glue. So this was the video that she was working from, and getting the ideas to um, capture the coffee cup at eye level. So she was very careful to contour draw her paintings at eye level. So we were keeping it simple in this video. We were talking about how sometimes when we're doing contour drawing, it's a little easier if we just use, let's say, two-dimensional perspective when we're drawing and painting. so that we can just focus in on the fundamentals, and then eventually we can work into three-dimensional um, drawings where we can get maybe some of the more of the three-dimensional aspects of the subject matter. But this is the perfect way to start out. Um, and I even myself, even still, I've been painting over 15 years. I still sometimes stick with two-dimensional drawings and paintings because I think they're just fun to do, and and it also looks really beautiful too as well, doing the two-dimensional look. And so let's get into our video here, and we are ramping up here. We're going to do some contour drawing, and I guess as this video continues on here, let's see if I can fast forward. Okay, so here we're just going to look at this is the silk flowers I had bought. Sometimes I can't always buy fresh flowers. Sometimes I don't have the time and I want to do a quick practice. I use some silk flowers. So those are some silk flowers I got at the local hobby store in my area. And so that's what they look like, and I set them up across from me to the right. So over to the right, I set up some foam board, and I use my foam board backer and table constantly when I practice my contour drawing and painting. So there's my pretend vase. So I'm just showing you across to the right where I'm standing at my art table. This is what I have set up. I have the vase on top of the foam board with the white foam board backer. Basically just two pieces of foam board, except larger. That's my little small mock-up of the foam backboard and platform. So here, the foam backboard I do have set up with my flowers and the vase and the pepper and the tomato. They're set up at eye level. So much like we were saying with Corola's coffee cup rendering, contour drawing and painting, we're going to do the same idea here. We're pretty much, I think I did a slight angle to it, so it's a little bit of a three-dimensional look, but for the most part it's straight across from me and almost at eye level, pretty close to eye level. And then we have, look again, we're some pepper, and that's a plastic fruit. I bought plastic fruit online, I think from Amazon. You can get nice any kind of fruits, vegetables, online. They're plastic and they look really good, and they're great for just for practicing. And it's nice too to use real fruit. And if there's fruit around the house and so forth, I'll use that. So here I'm just drawing out a square, a rectangle on my paper, so I know where my boundaries are for my drawing. And then here we're just going to basically, once we draw that rectangle on our paper, then we know that's the boundaries we're going to work with. And then what we do is we say to ourselves, where do I want to put the subject matter within that rectangle? And then just for a little tiny bit of throwing out a little bit of theory here, or a little bit of practical applications here, for design purposes, when we're designing our painting and we're practicing, even if we're just doing practice, we know whatever we practice, that's going to become more and more a part of what we do. So let's practice thinking about design in theory. So here, this would be something that it looks okay, but we have a lot of extra space around this vase and two pieces of fruit or vegetables, whatever that is. We see how we have all that extra room around the subject matter. That's not going to be as pleasing a composition versus if we take the vase and those two pieces of fruit and we make those a lot larger within that rectangle, because it's going to look more. Same thing with photography. Photographers are always taught to fill up the camera lens with subject matter. So here we're going to do the same thing with our subject matter that we're painting. We're going to fill up the rectangle. You could also view this as a camera lens, and you're looking through the camera lens and you're seeing the screen. We're going to fill up our screen with lots of subject matter, and that is more exciting and more of a better pleasing composition. So we're just thinking design-wise. That's a little tidbit of information on design. Try to fill up your paper with lots of subject matter. So whatever you're going to paint, whatever your subject matter is, whether you're out doing landscape or seascapes or anything, still life at home, practicing, fill up that rectangle with interesting information, interesting subject matter. You'll have a much better, pleasing composition when you do that. So we'll get into the contour drawing here. First thing I do, I mention this a lot, and it's try to do a super light first preliminary light sketch, not very, just barely touching the paper, to lay out your design of where your subject matter is going to sit. So you're looking over at your setup and your vase and your fruit, and then you're just going to lightly draw it in onto your paper within your rectangle. Very super light, just so you get the feel for how it's going to look, and if it's the proper way, everything's going to fit inside the rectangle. Because sometimes you can start with a drawing and then you realize it runs out of the paper or runs off the paper, and then you might have a part of the subject matter missing. So we always want to make sure we kind of lay out before we start our drawing. We go in with a super light preliminary sketch just to make sure that everything looks good on the paper and in our rectangle, and then we can go on and then we'll do the finish, the contour drawing before we paint. So there we have it. We have a preliminary super light sketch, and when we go over this, we're not going to so much follow everything. We're just going to follow that general light sketch, knowing that those are the areas we're pretty much going to stick within when we're doing our contour drawing. So once you start your contour drawing, you're just going to redraw everything from your setup, just knowing that this preliminary sketch you did is just a general guide to where everything's going to be pretty much. So you're not going to you're not going to be worried about this part of your sketch. You don't have to do a real accurate job on this sketch. You're just trying to get a general idea of where things are going, and that's all. And then that's really simple. That's the preliminary light sketch, just to get an idea of where things are going to go, and then we'll go right into it and start our contour drawing. And then this is where we take our time. We're looking at all the angles. We're trying to capture all the angles of our subject matter in contour drawing. The beautiful thing about it is it teaches you, and it trains you to carefully look at your subject matter, to go slow, see the angles, see the curves, see the shadows, and as you go slow and keeping your pencil all the time on the paper, you become trained in drawing your subject matter to a really good level of proficiency, versus just trying to quickly sketch in something fast. You're not going to learn to follow angles as accurately with your eye and your coordination between your hand and your eye. So contour drawing actually builds a great amount of hand-eye coordination as an artist. So, and here we can see that I'm not just drawing outlines, I'm going from one section across to the other in my drawing. So this is what we want to do. We want to sort of take a trip through the drawing, and we're following the shapes of everything and the angles, and taking care to look at those things. And we're not so much worried that that's a tomato or that that's a vase. We're looking at the angles, the curves, the turns, taking our time, looking back and forth constantly at the subject matter across from us, and taking our time and seeing the angles, seeing the curves. And then at this point, we'll go on to part two. We'll just continue to contour draw. But again, the main thing here we're thinking about is following the details of the subject matter carefully, and taking our time, keeping the pencil on the paper and traveling through the picture, and not necessarily drawing around things, but drawing and focusing in on all those shapes, the curves, the distances between objects. So as you're looking at your subject matter, you're taking your time and really capturing all the details in a careful way, and that will produce a beautiful drawing for you. So let's come back to part two.